This video is going to discuss two commands, and we're going to focus on affirmative commands. So, before delving into the structure of Spanish commands, let's talk a little bit about what it means to have a command and an affirmative command specifically. So a command basically is ordering someone to do something. In English it would be something like go to your room, or pick up your toys, something like that. And commands are given in what is called the imperative mood. And this isn't really super important for you to know, but it's sort of nice knowledge to have anyway. So far you've worked in the indicative mood, which is saying something like, I go to the store, or you ride your bike. The imperative mood is giving orders. There are several other moods that you might be familiar with. The interrogative mood is asking questions. So it's basically just sort of the purpose behind the sentence. So, an affirmative command is telling someone to do something, whereas a negative command is telling someone not to do something. So we're going to focus on affirmative commands, and let's get started. So, because in Spanish we have different varieties of you, we have tú, usted, and ustedes are the main ones that we focus on. There are three different types of commands. And we're going to focus on the two commands because those are the easiest to understand and they don't require any additional conjugation knowledge. And these will be saved for later on. I believe they're covered in Spanish too in most high schools. So, two commands are pretty straightforward. Let's go through the conjugations. Two commands are formed, or affirmative two commands, are formed with the él, ella, usted form of the verb. So for something like bailar, the to command would be baila. Now it's important at this point that we discuss something called the implied subject. The implied subject means that the verb has a subject because it is conjugated, but the subject is not explicitly stated. And we do this in English with commands most of the time as well. Explicitly stated. So for instance, in the sentence, go to your room, the subject is you, and it is implied, but you don't say it. In Spanish, the same thing applies. So to tell someone to dance, you would say baila, not tu baila. And if you want, you can add exclamation marks for emphasis. So, let's look at a few other examples. We might have wash the car. So our verb would be to wash, so lavar el auto. Now remember, our implied subject is to, and for a command we're going to take the él, ella, usted form, lava el auto, or el coche, whatever you prefer. We could have cut the lawn, cut the grass, and so our verb would be cortar el césped. Remember, él, ella, usted form, corta el césped. One more example, maybe we have pick up your room. Our verb is arreglar. El cuarto. So él, ella, usted form would be arregla. Alright, so there you have some examples, and now I'll give you a few to try for yourself. Alright, so here are three sentences for you to translate using the affirmative two commands. And when you're done, just resume the video, and I will go through the answers. So this one's pretty straightforward. We have lavar as our verb, en los platos. So taking the LA Austed form, we have lava los platos. Alright, our next one, feed the dog. This is a little more complicated. It requires some knowledge you don't have yet. I just wanted to see what you would do with it. So feed the dog is typically expressed with darle de comer al perro. And obviously this is not conjugated, and we need to conjugate it. So you'll see we have a verb structure here. And as you're probably aware, this second part here is not conjugated at all, so that's somewhat irrelevant. So we're really focusing here on the darle part. Now, with affirmative commands, when you have an object pronoun, it is attached to the end of the verb. So you're used to seeing things like le doy de comer al perro, but in this case, we're going to take the LA Austed form, da, and attach the le to the end. Dale de comer al perro. Now, another thing you should note, and it doesn't apply in this case because of the way Spanish pronunciation works, but if you have a verb that is not monosyllabic, like da, for example, how about we want to say write it? So we would have escribir, lo, assuming it's masculine. So this would be our infinitive form of that. And if we want to conjugate this, we would have something looking like this. Now, the way Spanish pronunciation works, and I won't go into all the rules right now, but this would be pronounced as escribelo, which is not how escribe should sound. If we cut off the lo, it should be pronounced escribe. And we don't want it to sound like escribelo because that's not the way that a conjugated form of escribir would sound. So what we do is we add an accent to the originally stressed vowel to maintain the pronunciation of the verb without the attached object pronoun. So it would be pronounced escribelo, which matches the pronunciation of escribe. This might sound complicated and you probably won't be expected to do it for a while, but that's just a heads up. Alright, so set the table. Again, this is sort of a trick question on my part because the verb for set, which is poner, does not have a regular to command. It is irregular. It is pon la mesa. There are a few other irregulars that you should be aware of. Hacer is haz, tener is ten, and ser is se, with an accent to differentiate it from se, the pronoun. So it requires an accent, is what I'm trying to communicate to you. Alright, so that is that. Good luck with this, and as always, practice makes perfect.